All right. So I don't know what my thing is picking up, but it's picking up something. Well, I apologize if you're hearing something. I don't know what it is. It's just showing that my mic's picking up something. So yeah, today we're going to go over the form validation. We're going to do this. I started it and then was like, oh wait, what am I doing? So yeah, we're going to go through this for form validations to doing, going over all this stuff right here. So we've got constraint validation API. Certain HTML elements such as the text area and the input element expose a constraint validation API. The API allows you to assert that the user's provided value for the element passes any HTML level validation you have written, such as minimum length or pattern matching. So making sure an email is an email and an input, making sure it's number inputs and a number input and things like that. So we've got check validity method. So this method returns true if the element matches all HTML validation based on its attributes, and false if it fails. So in this one we've got a variable of input, which is just the input, and then we're adding an event listener to the input. Of course, e.target check validity. So e.target, of course, is what we're putting the event listener on, which is the input. So if not the e.target check validity, then e.target.set custom validity, you must use a .com email. So this is to set the set custom validity is just literally to throw a custom error message. Report validity method. This method tells the browser that the input is invalid. So input, the input selector here, and then we've got add event listener to the input, the event, if not e.target, check validity, and then report validity. So again, tells the browser that the input is invalid. Validity property. So this property is used to get or set the validity state of a form controls like input or select, and provides information about whether the user's input meets the constraints defined for that element. Example, required fields, pattern constraints, maximum length. So here we've got the event listener on input, and then we're just literally console logging the e.target validity. So pattern mismatch. This will be true if the value doesn't match the specified regular expression pattern. And then, so yeah, if it just doesn't match your regular expression, then pattern mismatch will be true. If it's so prevent default, we've dealt with this before. Every event that triggers in the DOM has some sort of default behavior due to the browser. Of course, the click event on checkbox toggles the state of that checkbox by default. Pressing the spacebar on a focused button activates the button. The prevent default method on these event objects stops the behavior from happening. So here we're adding an event listener to a button on a click, prevent the default behavior from happening, and then alert button click prevented. So submitting forms. Definition: there are 3 ways a form can be submitted. The first is when the user clicks a button in the form which has the type attribute set to submit. The second is when the user presses the enter key on an editable input form, which of course we were fucking up on the last one there, if I remember correctly. So the third is through a JavaScript call to the request submit or submit methods from the form event. The action attribute should contain either a URL or a relative path for the current domain. This value determines where the form attempts to send the data. If you do not set an action attribute, the form will send it to the current page's URL, which really doesn't help you, does it? So this is it right here. Method attribute. So this attribute accepts a standard HTTP method such as get or post, and uses the method when making the request to the action URL. When a method is not set, the form will default to a get request. The data in the form will be URL encoded as name equals value pairs, and appended to the action URL as query parameters. And so here you got the form action is data, method is post, input type text, ID, input, placeholder, enter a number, name, number, button type equals submit, submit. And then we got ents type, which ink type, which the form element accepts an ink type attribute, which represents the encoding type to use for the data. This attribute only accepts 3 values: application / x dash www dot or www slash or dash form dash URL encoded, which is the default, sending the data as a URL encoded form body, text / plain, which sends the data in plain text form in name equals value and pairs separated by new lines, or multi-part form data, which is specifically for handling forms with a file upload. So this is what we're doing. Calorie budget, let's say the calorie is 1500. Let's add the entry. Name is food, and the calories we ate for it was like 550. Let's add that entry, and let's calculate the remaining calories. Oh, there we go. So 950 calorie deficit still. So we got 950 calories to eat through the whole day. So that's cool. And then this one, it's just saying to look through. So see what we've got here. We've got H1. We've got a div with a class container. We're going to add all the rest. The styles we've already got here. Look at that. And so what we want to do is add a form with the ID of calorie counter. Boom. Submit and go to the next. And then inside this form, we are going to have a label, which is for budget. And the word in between will be budget. And then we got to make an input, which the ID will equal budget, because that's what the label is for. And so we've got to give this also type. Oh, come on. Type equals number. And then we've got min equals 0. And then we've got placeholder equals daily calorie budget. And then we got to set it to required as well. Done and done. Okay, so in your form, users should have the capability to add various meal types along with their calorie counts. Create a field set with the ID equals breakfast. Oops, fast. Whoops. There we go. Create field set with the ID lunch. Okay, so we're just going to be doing lunch. There we go. When users want to select a meal type to input their calorie counts, they should be presented with a drop-down menu with a button. So start by creating a div element and have a class of controls. Then nest a span element inside the div. Just like that. In your span element, create a label element for the edge tree drop-down. Oh, not span, select. Add a button with the ID. Set to add entry. There we go. Okay, your select menu needs options for the things, so here's the option element. So your select menu needs options for each of the food, exercises, field set elements you created in the previous set. Use the option element. So we want how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. breakfast, lunch, dinner. What? Oh. There we go. And so create another div element. Go. So your form needs somewhere to display the results. Add an empty div element. Go. Finally need to link your JavaScript file. Okay, so we got okay, so it's time to start writing the script that makes your form work. So to access the HTML element with the given ID name, you can use the get element by ID. Boom. So what is our form elements ID again? Calorie count there. What are you talking about? Oh, my bad. Just put form. There we go. So get your budget element. So const entry drop down equals document dot get element by ID. Oh, that's budget number input. My bad. Entry drop down. Entry drop down. Do I have to actually? const. Oh. There we go. Following the same pattern as sign here. Okay. Declare variable named isError. Okay, so later on in the project, you will update the value of isError if the user provides an invalid input. Okay, so when the user inputs their daily calorie budget, the input field will only accept new variable values. However, if a number is entered with a plus or minus sign, you'll need to remove those characters. Start by declaring a clean input string. It takes a string as a parameter. Received as strings in JavaScript, you'll need to convert these strings into numbers. Okay, so then wouldn't it just be toString, right? Or toNumber? I would think so, right? Let me just make sure. Could be over. Let's go to here. String, replace. Okay, yeah, so it is replace. So we're replace the plus and minus globally with nothing. Just like that. So return string dot replace, and we're going to replace these using a regular expression. Oh, it should be an empty function at the moment. To match specific characters in a string, you can use regular expression or regex. Regex in JavaScript indicates pattern, blah, blah, blah. So declare a regex variable. Oops. Is that not right? I assign it the value from the example above. Oh, that's stupid. Okay. And this is why we should read, right? Boom. So the current pattern will match the exact text hello, which is not desired behavior. Instead, you want to search for the blah blah blah. And so place the pattern in your regex variable with boop boop to match the plus and minus characters. Oh, whoops. There we go. gotta wait for this. Actually, I'm gonna take this 2 minutes here. I'm gonna run to the washroom real quick. Okay, so in regex shorthand characters classes, shorthand character classes allow you to match specific characters without having to write those characters in your pattern. Shorthand character classes are preceded with a backslash. The character class /s will match any white space characters. Add this to your regex pattern. We want that here, right? I think. Yes. There we go, and your current pattern won't work just yet. This looks for the plus, minus, and space in this order. This would match plus, minus, hello, but would not match plus, hello. To tell the pattern to match each of these characters individually, you will need to turn them into a character class. This is done by wrapping the characters you want to match in brackets. For example, this pattern will match the characters H, E, L, and O, which is like this. So that's when we want to wrap these bad boys in one of those. What? Note that you no longer need to... Oh. Think. Regex can also take specific flags to alter the and we want the G flag. The G flag, which stands for global, will tell the pattern to continue looking after it has found a match. Otherwise, it'll just find the first one. So JavaScript provides a .replace method that enables you to replace a character in a string with another string. This method accepts two arguments. The first argument is the character sequence to be replaced, which could be either a string or a regex pattern. The second argument is the string that replaces the matched sequence. Since strings are immutable, the replace method returns a new string with the replaced characters. In this example, the replace method is used to replace all instances of the letter L with the number 1 in the string hello. So we took hello dot replace the L globally with a 1, and so that would actually return with an HE110. Your regex use your regex to replace all instances of plus, minus, and space in this string with an empty string that returns the value. So we want return string dot replace, and that will be the replace the string, right? Am I right? Replace the string with the regex? Nah, just the regex. There we go. Okay. Now it's time to test out your clean input string function. Inside your clean input string function, add a console.log. The first argument should be original string. So to see the result of the clean input string function, you'll need to add a console log statement inside of that console log statement. Call the clean input string. Okay. Console.log. I thought we were putting a console.log and then a console.log inside of that. I was like, well, what? That makes no sense. But it's not. So it's the clean input string. And we are going to call that. Call with the string value of as an argument. Open up the console. Yeah. Bingo, bango, bongo. Once you have finished testing your clean input string function, you could remove both of your console statements. Okay, perfect. Bye console. Bye console. In HTML, number inputs allow for exponential notations such as 1e10. You need to filter those out. Start by creating a function called isInvalidInput. And it takes a string. Declare the regex again. Regex equals, and assign it a regex that matches the character E. The E in a number input can also be uppercase E. Regex as flag for this, which is the I. So that's makes it so that they're insensitive to case. Regex above. Hello. Hello with a capital H. Hello with all capitals. And hello with every second letter being capital or first. Because of the makes your pattern case insensitive. Add the I flag. Boom. Number inputs will only allow the E to occur between two digits. To match any number, you can use character class 0 to 9. This will match any digit between 0 to 9. Okay, so add this character class before and after your E in the pattern. That's the digit, right? Am I right about that? I am not right about that. The plus modifier in a regex allows you to match the pattern that occurs more than one time. Match your digit after each of them. So, boop. Regex is not the greatest. It is kind of annoying. But we need to know it, don't we? So, this is shorthand character class to match any digit. Replace, yeah, that's what I've, okay, I'm not going crazy. Not going crazy. Strings have a match method, which takes a regex argument. .match will return an array of match results containing either the first match or all matches of the global flag used. Example string. Regex is example. So string match regex returns example. Return the result of calling the .match on the string and passing your regex variable as the argument. You'll use this match result later on. Okay, so this we would do return string dot match match, and that would be the regex. Now it's time to test your isValidInput. For this test, you want to check if the function can detect scientific notations like 1E3 or 10E2. While this is a valid way to represent numbers, it is not a valid input for your calorie counter project. So below you, add a console statement of is valid input and the argument of this. What do you mean? Uncop. Oh, is invalid. Invalid. Okay, so when you open the console, you should see the results. Which is exactly what we do see, isn't it? Here is a complete breakdown of that information. For one, E3 is matched value against the digit, E digit. Index 0 is the index of the matched value in the string. Input 1E3 is the original string that was matched, and the groups undefined are the matched groups which are not used in this case. You will learn more about groups in later projects. Now it's time to test for valid input. Update your console statement to the following. Let's just go with 10. And it's nothing. Null. It's gone. So, when you open up the console, you should see the result of null. The match method returns null when no match is found. In this case, the isInvalidInput function should return null when the input is a valid number without any scientific notation. Null in JavaScript is a special primitive that represents the intentional absence of a value. In a Boolean context, null is considered falsy, which evaluates to false in a conditional statement. Now that you have finished testing your isValidInput, you can get rid of this. Bye! Now you need to retrieve the value of entry drop-down value to get the current to see its value. Okay. Breakfast. Since the entry drop-down value is a static context outside of an event listener, it only shows the value at the moment of the code runs. This means it won't automatically update as the user interacts with the dropdown. It will capture the initial value, in this case breakfast, and won't reflect any changes the user makes afterwards. So now that you've finished that, we can remove this. Your next step is to add entries to the calorie counter. Declare an empty function. Not function. Function. An empty one. Does it take params? Should not take any params. Right? Right? Let's just reset this. What's going on here? Huh? Looking weird, right? So let's delete that. And now we'll go function. Add entry. I don't know what happened there. That was weird, but okay. You'll need to know which category the entry goes in. Thankfully, you added a drop-down for the user to select a category. Remember that you queried that drop-down earlier in your JavaScript and assigned it to the entry drop-down variable. You can use the value property to get the value of the selected option. Use concatenation to add boop boop to the beginning of the value property of entry drop-down and assign the result to a target ID variable. Whoa, okay. Okay, so remember that you queried that drop-down earlier. the drop down was. Entry drop down. So add entry. Would this be a 4 for entry in entries? Right? Oh, we just have to do that. I'm an idiot. So let target ID equal that plus. I was definitely overthinking it. Yeah, because I was thinking we'd have to go through all the entries, but then I was like, oh, well, there's no array, so do we have to make an empty array and start putting things in? No, see? Overthinking. Just overthinking. Now you need to target the input container element within the element that has your target ID. Declare a new target input container variable and assign it the value of document query selector. Concatenation to separate with a space to pass the string into query selector. Okay, so declare a new hold up. So, assign it the value of document query selector. Huh. Am I supposed to... Oops. Okay, so plus that. Oh, with a space. I'm an idiot. Okay. That's what I thought we needed to do, but... yeah. Okay, so started ID, wouldn't that be boom? So query selector on the ID and the input container. Okay, So it'll show the string, hello, my name is Naomi. Replace your concatenated string. Oh, whoops. JavaScript has a feature called template literals, which allows you to use these, of course, and then put these in so that you can change things to like this. And so replace your concatenation string in the query selector with a template literal. Be sure to keep the space between your target ID variable and input container. Thanks to template literals, you actually don't need the target ID variable at all. Remove that variable and update your template literal to replace target ID with entry drop down value. But isn't it better for readability to create the variable? You will want to number the entries a user adds. To get all of the number inputs, you can use the query selector all method. The query selector all method returns a node list of all the elements that match the selector. A node list is an array-like object. You can access the elements using bracket notation. Declare an entry number variable. And give it the value of target input container query selector all. You do not need to pass an argument. Okay, there we go. So each entry will have a text input for the entry's name and a number input for the calories. To get a count of the number of entries, you can query by text inputs. Pass the string. What the? That was weird. Okay. To the query selector all method, remember that you will need it to use single quotes for your string. Remember you will need to use blah. This will return the node list. You can then access the length property of the node list to get the number of entries. Do not do the same line. And then hold on. You can then access the length property and then get the number two. Okay. So then do we just want entry number dot length? There we go. Now you'll need to build your dynamic HTML string to add web pages, declare new. Inside your template literal, create a label element and give it the text entry name. we go. Give your label element a 4. X, number, name. What? Is that not? There we go. After your label element and on a new line in your template string, create an input element. Okay, hold on. Input. There we go. Create another label element on a new line. There we go. On a new line, after your second label, create another input. Just going to steal this input. Give a type set to number. A placeholder for called calories. Min equals 0. There we go. How far along are we here? To see your new HTML content, the inner HTML property sets or returns the HTML content inside the element. Form element with the label and with nested. If you want to add another label and input inside the form, then you can use the inner HTML property as shown. Okay, in the role-playing game project, you learned how to set a button's behavior by editing its odd click property. You could also edit an element's behavior by adding an event listener. The following example uses the add event listener method to add a click event to button. When the button is clicked, then print name function is called. The add event listener makes two arguments. The first is the event to listen to. Example click. The second is the callback function, or the function that runs when the event is triggered. Okay, so, the add event listener method takes two arguments. The first is the event to the click, blah, blah, blah. So call the add event listener on add entry button, pass it a click. And we're going to do the add entry. And we do not want to call it, so we don't want to put the parentheses there. Try adding a couple of entries to breakfast category. Name, food, calories, 500. Calorie budget is 1500. First thing we notice, the count, yes. It should start at 1, not 0. This bug occurs because of querying this. To fix this, your entry, the length of query +1, add the decoration line in your template. Where is it? Dot length. That, right? Am I wrong? No. The other bugs occurs, so now let's see it. Boom, would you look at that? It's because it was 0 base, right? So your other bug occurs if you add breakfast entry, fill it in, and then add a second breakfast entry. Okay, well, let's see. Let's see here. Nothing on the calculator. Nothing on the calculator. Okay. So your other bug occurs if you add breakfast, blah, blah, blah. This is because you're updating inner HTML directly, which does not preserve your input content. Change your inner insert adjacent HTML. That's what we want. So, the insert adjacent HTML method takes 2 arguments. The first argument is a string that specifies the position of the inserted element. The second argument is a string containing the HTML to be inserted. So, for the first argument, pass the string before end. And insert it to the new element, the last child of the target. Boom. And then the second one will of course be HTML string variable. Great, now you can add entries without losing your previous input. Alright, well, let's see. We want food of 500 calories. Would you like that? And then we got food of 400 calories. Whoa, ho, ho, would you look at that? Your next step is write a function that will give calorie counts for the user's entries. Declare a get calories from inputs function. And give it a parameter of lists. List. There we go. In your new function, declare a calories variable. That's my bad. We're going to have to let it because it's going to change. And so the list parameter is going to be the result of a query selector, which will return a node list. A node list is a list of elements like an array. It contains an element that match elements that match the query selector. You'll need to loop through these elements in the list. In previous steps, you learned how to loop through an array using a for loop. You can also use a for of loop to loop through an array and a node list. The for of loop is used to iterate over elements in an iterable object like an array. The variable declared in the loop represents the current element being iterated over. So this, we want a for of. So create a for of loop that iterates through the list. For I have to do the let right. For use const to declare the variable item called item. Const item of list. Oh, constant for item of list. Okay, so the node list values you will pass into list will consist of input elements. So you will want to look at the value attribute for each element. Assigned item.value. Const curval is equal to item.value. Remember that you wrote a function earlier to clean the user's input. You'll need to use that function here. Update your curval declaration to be the result of calling a clean input string with the item value. So input your current value declaration to be the result of calling. There we go. You also need to confirm the input is valid. Declare an invalid input match variable. I can fuck with this on for sure. Okay. Boom. And so remember that your isValid input function returns string.match, which is an array of matches or null if no matches are found. In JS, values can either be truthy or falsy. A value is truthy if it evaluates to true, and false if it's false, or falsy if it's false. Null if it's is also a falsy value as well. You need to check if invalid input match is truthy. You can do this by passing the variable directly to your if condition without a comparison operator. Here's an example of checking the truthiness of hello world. If hello world, an if statement that checks if invalid input match is truthy. If invalid input match go. Browsers have a built-in alert function you can use to display pop-up messages, alert, use a template literal in your if to alert and tell invalid input should display the first element of invalid input match. Let me see, what am I doing wrong here? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Of course. Duh. Fucking. There we go. In programming, null is meant to represent the absence of a value. In this case, if the user enters an invalid input, you want the alert to alert them return null to indicate that the function has failed. Still within your if block, set is error to true. Remember that return ends the execution of a function. After your if block, you will need to handle the logic for when the input is valid. Because your if statement returns a value, you do not need an else statement. Use the addition assignment operator to add curval to your calories total. Is this after the if block? Yeah, after your if block. Okay. So, sorry, what are we doing again? So then we want calories plus equals the cur val. So I have to put number here. Yeah. There we go. Oh, it's still in the for block. So yeah, not bad. This is for each item on the list. So after your for loop has completed, return the calories value. What? Okay, now it's time to start putting it all together. Declare an empty calculate calories function. What? Oh, which takes in an event. You will be attaching this function to the submit event of the form. So the default action of the submit event is to reload the page. You need to prevent this default action using prevent default. So e.prevent default. Not 3, E. I don't know where we are on here, but I'm liking this. Okay, your function needs to get the values from the entries the user has added. Declare a breakfast number input variable. Using the same syntax, query your number inputs in the lunch element and assign them to lunch number inputs. And do the same with dinner, snacks, and everything. All right. Now you have your list of elements. You can pass them to your get calorie to extract the calorie total. To declare a breakfast calories variable. And so we have to assign it the result of get calories from inputs. That's this one right here, right? Or is it? Where's the get calorie from inputs? I don't remember making that. Oh, right. Ugh. Underneath the return null and stuff. Yeah, you fucking idiot. So yeah, we'll call it that. Lunch calories, the exact same thing. Okay. And now all the rest. This thing is getting lengthy, ain't it? You always need to get the value of your budget input. Or you also need to get the value of your budget input. You already queried this at the top of your code. But yeah, since we use the element get element by ID, it returns an element, not the node list. So a node list is an array-like object, which means you can iterate through it. And shares common methods with an array. For your get calories from inputs function, an array will work for the argument just as well as a node list does. Declare a budget calories variable. Good lord. So many fucking variables, eh? And it was the result of get the calories from inputs. And we'll pass in the budget number input. Oh. Right, because we gotta make it an array. Boom. Your get calories from inputs functions will set the global error flags is error to true if an invalid input is detected. Add an if statement to your calculate calories. If is error, if error, return. Boom. It is time to start preparing your calculations. Start by declaring a consumed calories variable. It's the longest fucking function, eh? Just for all of this. Oops. equals. No. No. There we go. Okay, now declare a remaining calories variable. Oh man, just keep hitting that print screen button, eh? And for that, give it the value of subtracting consumed calories from budget calories. There we go. Okay, you need to know if the user is in a caloric surplus or deficit. A caloric surplus is when you consume more calories than you burn, and a caloric deficit is when you burn more calories than you consume. Burning as many calories as you consume is called maintenance, and can be thought of as a surplus or deficit of 0, depending on your goals. Declare a surplus deficit variable. Then use a ternary operator to set There we go. We're getting close. I think that's 99 steps or something. So yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so you can construct HTML string that will be displayed in the output element. Start by assigning an empty template literal to the inner HTML property of the output element. When you need to lowercase a string, you can always use a lowercase method. Needs a span element with a class attribute set to surplus or deficit. Your surplus or deficit. Go. Give your span the text remaining calories. Calorie surplus deficit. When the user has a calorie surplus, the remaining calories value will be negative. You do want to display a negative number. You don't want to. You do not want to display a negative number in the result string. Math.abs is built-in JavaScript method that will return the absolute value. So in your span text, wrap your remaining calories reference in math.abs. What? Oh, oops. There we are. After your span element, add an HR element to create a horizontal line. Now create a P element. using the same interpolation, add a second P element. With the text consumed. Oh. There we go. Finally, you need to make the output element visible so the user can see your text. Your output variable is an element which has a classless property. This property has a .remove method which accepts a string representing the class to remove from the element. So, remove hide. So, output dot class lists, remove hide. If you click your calculate remaining calories button, so we're going to add an event listener. And the event type should be submit. And the function we want to do is the calculate calories. And your final feature to add the ability for the user to clear the form. Start by declaring an empty function called clear form. No, not function again. And you need to get all the input containers declare an input container variable. Document dot query selector all, and that would be the class of dot input container. Okay, remember that document.querySelector all returns a node list, which is an array but is not an array. However, the array object has a .form method that accepts an array-like and returns an array. This is helpful when you want to access more robust array methods, which you will learn about in future projects. The following example takes a node list of li and converts it to an array of li. List items, if you didn't know what that meant. List item array equals array dot from there. So wrap your input container query selector in an array from. Oops. There we go. It is time for another loop. Create a for of loop with a variable called container. For container of input containers Hello? Hi. Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you. How much do I owe you? Oh, okay, perfect.
Would you mind if Terry, if I just stopped and got washed my car? It is so awful.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm literally just in the room doing my coding stuff right now. So, yeah, no, yeah, it's not that big a deal. Piper seems to be pretty quiet, just hanging out with S, I think. So, okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Okay, bye. Okay. Sorry about that. So after your loop completes, you need to clear the budget number input, set the value property of budget number input to an empty string. Oh, after. What? There we go. So you also need to clear the output element's text. You can do this by setting the inner text property to an empty string. The difference between inner text and inner HTML is that inner text will not render HTML elements, but will display the tags and content as raw text. Okay, so now we're going to do you need to clear the outpost element, output, dot inner text. There we go. Finish off this function. You need to restore the hide class to the output element. So class list, so output dot class list right. Add. There we go. Complete this workshop. Add an event listener to the clear bottom. Clear bottom button. When the button is clicked, it should call the clear form button. Okay, so clear button. Boom, just like that. So yeah, that's that one today. We got the lab as well. That one's probably going to take quite some time. We've already been going, what, almost 2 hours. So we'll probably call her there for today, but I think I'll be back tomorrow. I'm probably going to do this one. You're going to take a break, eat something, and probably do this. So tomorrow we'll probably get on to audio and events, I think. I've already done the dates. Put up stuff about that. The new date. Fuck new date, you know? New date sucks. But yeah, so until tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow or might have to be Thursday, but we'll see. So until then, peace.